Number 9. The Apple Car Burnout. Starting us off at number 9, Project Titan. For a full decade, Apple worked on a secret car. It was supposed to be the ultimate mobile device. They wanted a vehicle with no steering wheel or pedals. It was going to be a living room on wheels. At its peak, 5,000 employees were working on it. They even built a secret testing track in Arizona. Rumors said it would cost $100,000, but the project was an absolute money pit. They burned through over $10 billion in cash. That is more than the GDP of some small countries. And what did they actually produce for that money? Absolutely nothing that you can buy or drive today. They struggled with the self-driving software for years. The car could not handle complex city driving situations. Internal deadlines were missed over and over again. Executives kept changing the design and the goals. Finally, in February 2024, the plug was pulled. Tim Cook gathered the team and killed the project. 2,000 employees were suddenly left in limbo. Many were laid off, while others moved to AI. $10 billion evaporated with nothing to show for it. It is the most expensive failed product in tech history. They essentially paid $10 billion to learn car manufacturing is hard. Imagine burning that much cash just to give up. Now they are just focusing on generative AI instead. The dream of an Apple car is officially dead. Number 8. The Fisker fiasco. Next up at number 8, the Fisker bankruptcy. This was supposed to be the Tesla killer. Henrik Fisker promised the world a revolutionary electric SUV. The Fisker Ocean had solar panels and a rotating screen. It looked incredible in all the glossy marketing videos. The company was valued at nearly $3 billion. But then the actual cars started getting delivered. And they were literally falling apart on the road. Customers reported power loss and hoods flying open. The software was so buggy the key fobs failed. Owners were getting locked inside or outside their own cars. Then came the reviews that destroyed the company completely. MKBHD called it the worst car he ever reviewed. That single video tanked the stock price almost overnight. They tried to slash prices to move the inventory. A $70,000 car dropped to $24,000, but nobody wanted to buy a dying car brand. They filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in June 2024. The stock was delisted and became essentially worthless paper. Thousands of owners are now stuck with bricked cars. The cloud servers for the software might just turn off. It is a cautionary tale about overpromising and underdelivering. $3 billion of investor money vanished into thin air. Number 7, the river gamble. Moving to number 7, the Seine River cleanup. Paris wanted to do something historic for the Olympics. They promised athletes would swim in the Seine River. Swimming had been banned there since 1923 for health reasons. To fix it, they spent $1.5 billion. They built a massive underground cathedral to hold sewage. It was designed to stop waste flowing into the river. But nature does not care about your expensive engineering. Just weeks before the games, the water was toxic. Heavy rains overwhelmed the new system completely. E. coli levels spiked to dangerous amounts for humans. The mayor even swam in it to prove it was safe. It was a PR stunt to save the billion-dollar investment. But during the actual games, events had to be cancelled. Triathletes were swimming in water that could make them sick. Some athletes reportedly vomited after crossing the finish line. They spent $1.5 billion to fight rain. And in the end, the rain still won the battle. It proves you cannot just buy your way out of pollution. Now the Olympics are over. The river is still murky. That is an expensive swim for just a few days. Number 6, the Smart Motorway trap. Moving on to number 6, the UK Smart Motorways. Britain had a plan to fix traffic congestion forever. They decided to turn the hard shoulder into a lane. It was supposed to increase capacity without widening roads. They called them Smart Motorways to sound high-tech. They spent billions of pounds rolling this system out. Drivers were told that cameras would keep them safe. If you broke down, a red X would appear. But in reality, the technology was fatally flawed. The radar systems often missed stationary vehicles entirely. People were left stranded in live fast lanes. Tragically, many people lost their lives in collisions. The public outrage eventually became impossible to ignore. The government was forced to pause the rollout. And this year, they finally canceled all future plans. They admitted the system simply did not work safely. But the money had already been spent on construction. Now they might have to spend more to fix it. Reinstating the hard shoulder will cost even more billions. It is a classic case of a cheap fix failing. They tried to save money on asphalt and concrete. Instead, they wasted taxpayer money and endangered lives. Drivers did not know what to do in emergencies. The government launched expensive ad campaigns to explain it. Go left was the slogan they paid millions for. But panic is hard to overcome with a catchy slogan. Now, retrofitting emergency refuge areas is costing millions more. They have to dig up the roads they just finished. It is an endless cycle of construction and cones. UK drivers spend half their life in roadworks. And for what benefit did they endure all this? Journey times have barely improved on these routes. It is a financial disaster that achieved nothing. Let's look at the financial damage here. The rollout cost an estimated 1.3 billion. Undoing the damage could cost another £1 billion. That is over £2 billion for zero progress. It is literally paying to build a death trap. And then paying again to dismantle the trap. Drivers in the UK are furious about the waste. It destroyed trust in the highway agency completely. Smart Motorways will go down as a historic failure. A deadly accounting error that cost billions. Number 5, the metaverse black hole. At number 5, we have Meta Reality Labs. Mark Zuckerberg bet the entire company on one idea. He believed we would all live in virtual reality. He changed the company name from Facebook to Meta, and then he started spending money like water. The division has lost over $50 billion. That is more than the value of Ford Motor Company. $50 billion just evaporated into digital space. They are losing about $4 billion every single quarter. And what do we have to show for it? A cartoon world where avatars did not have legs. Horizon Worlds is currently a ghost town of sadness. Most users log in once and never return again. The graphics look worse than games from 2006. Meanwhile, the headset sales have been crashing down. People just do not want to wear heavy goggles. Investors have been begging Mark to stop the bleeding. They want him to focus on things that make money. But he keeps pouring billions into the void. He is convinced this is the future of computing. Even as the rest of the world moves to AI, imagine spending $50 billion on a bad video game. You could buy a small country for that price. Or solve actual problems here in the real world. Instead, we got low-resolution virtual meeting rooms. It is widely considered the biggest money furnace in tech. To be fair, the Ray-Ban glasses are cool. But the Quest headsets are gathering dust in closets. They hired thousands of engineers to build this world. Many of them were reportedly confused by the strategy. Internal leaks said even employees did not use it. Zuckerberg recently pivoted the talk to artificial intelligence. But look at the financial statements for Reality Labs. The red ink is still flowing like a river. $50 billion is enough to end homelessness in cities. It is enough to fund cancer research for decades. But it went into legs for a cartoon avatar. History might look back on this as hubris. A tech mogul disconnected from actual reality. The metaverse is currently the most expensive hobby ever. Number 4, the train to nowhere. Number 4 is the California high-speed rail. This was the dream of a bullet train in America. It was supposed to connect Los Angeles to San Francisco. Voters approved it way back in 2008. The original price tag was $33 billion. It was promised to be running by the year 2020, well, we are way past 2020 right now. And not a single passenger has ridden the train. The cost has exploded to $128 billion. That is nearly 4 times the original budget estimate. It is currently the most expensive infrastructure project in US history. And the timeline has been pushed back to 2033. Or maybe even later, nobody actually knows for sure. Right now, they are only building the middle section. It connects obscure towns in the Central Valley. Critics literally call it the train to nowhere. It does not connect the major cities yet. They ran into endless lawsuits over land rights. Environmental reviews took years longer than expected. Every mile of track costs an absolute fortune. Political mismanagement has plagued the project from day one. Meanwhile, other countries build these trains in a few years. China built a whole network while California argued. Taxpayers are watching their money vanish into the dirt. The project is funded by state bonds and federal grants. Washington keeps sending money to keep it alive, but the progress is painfully slow to watch. You can see half-built bridges standing in fields. They stand like concrete ruins of a modern civilization. The land acquisition process was a total nightmare. Farmers refused to sell their land for the tracks. Lawyers made more money than the construction workers. Every delay adds billions due to inflation costs. At this rate, We will have flying cars first. It has become a punchline for late-night comedians. But for the taxpayer, the joke is not funny. 128 billion is a staggering sum. For a train that might never reach San Francisco, the dream of high-speed rail is stuck in traffic. It is a masterclass in how not to build infrastructure. Number 3, the railway robbery. Coming in at number 3, the HS2 Northern Leg. The United Kingdom wanted a high-speed railway network. It was the flagship project to level up the country. The plan was to connect London to Manchester fast. But last year, the Prime Minister cancelled the Northern Leg. He blamed the spiraling costs and management delays. But here's the really painful part for taxpayers. They had already spent £2 billion preparing for it. Government agents had purchased hundreds of homes and farms. They forced people to sell their family properties. Communities were bulldozed to make way for the tracks. And now they are not building the tracks at all. The government is selling the land back at a loss. Imagine being forced to sell your house for a train, and then watching them sell it to someone else cheaper. It is an absolute administrative and financial shambles. £2 billion was spent on essentially paperwork and demolition. That money could have fixed thousands of potholes, or built new hospitals that people actually need. The project is now a stump of its former self. It will only run from London to Birmingham. And even the London station is currently on hold. Passengers might have to get off in the suburbs. It is a high-speed train that barely goes anywhere. The cost per mile is the highest in the world. Japanese engineers are looking at us in total confusion. They build bullet trains through mountains for less money. In Britain, we spend billions just to decide not to build. The cancellation was announced during a party conference. It was supposed to be a brave political decision, but it felt like admitting total national defeat. £2 billion is a lot of money to waste, just to dig a few holes and fill them in. It is a ghost train that will never arrive. Number 2, the artificial sun. Number 2 is the ITER fusion reactor in France. This is the most complex machine ever designed by humans. The goal is to create a star on Earth. If it works, it gives us infinite clean energy. 35 nations chipped in to build this beast. The original budget was around $6 billion. The estimated cost is now over $22 billion. And some experts say it could hit $60 billion. It is running decades behind its original schedule. They just announced the start date is pushed to 2039. It was supposed to be turning on right about now. The problem is the sheer complexity of the engineering. They have to weld million-pound steel sections together. If they are off by a millimeter, it fails. Recently, they found cracks in the coolant pipes. Fixing those cracks will take years of manual work. It is a puzzle with millions of custom parts. And the parts come from different countries with different standards. It is a bureaucratic nightmare of international proportions. Meanwhile, private companies are catching up fast. Startups are building smaller reactors for a fraction of the cost. ITER might be obsolete before it even switches on. It is a $20 billion science experiment. And there is no guarantee it will actually work. Fusion energy is always 30 years away, and with ITER, it seems it always will be. Critics call it a bottomless pit for research grants. But proponents say we have to keep trying. Because if it works, it changes civilization forever. But for now, it is just a very expensive construction site. A cathedral of science that is burning cash, not plasma. The running joke is that ITER stands for forever. Or International Time Eater of Resources. Let's hope our grandchildren get to see it run. Number 1. The Mirror City Mirage. And finally at number 1, the line in Saudi Arabia. This is the most ambitious construction project in history. Crown Prince MBS wanted to build a sci-fi city. A single building stretching 170 kilometers long. It was designed to house 9 million people. Walls of mirrors would reflect the desert landscape. No cars, no roads, just a vertical garden paradise. The budget was an eye-watering $500 billion. Promotional videos looked like a high-budget movie. They started digging massive trenches in the sand. You could see the scar on the Earth from space. But reality has recently hit the project very hard. They just scaled back the 2030 target dramatically. Instead of 170 kilometers, they are building 2. Just 2.4 kilometers will be finished by 2030. That is a 98% reduction in size. The population goal dropped from millions to 300,000. Reports say the Sovereign Wealth Fund is running low on cash. They are frantically trying to borrow money to continue. Contractors are reportedly being laid off in waves. It turns out building a linear city is incredibly inefficient. If you live at one end, your friend is miles away. The logistics of sewage and water are a nightmare. Experts called it a trap from the very beginning, but nobody says no to $500 billion. So architects drew up the wildest plans imaginable. Now it looks like it might just be a small town. A very expensive, very shiny small town in the desert. The original vision was pure science fiction hubris, trying to force geography to bend to a ruler. Billions have already been poured into the foundations. And for what? A 2-kilometer hallway. It is the ultimate symbol of financial overreach. When you have too much money and zero constraints, you end up with a half-built mirror in the sand. It is the biggest money pit the world has ever seen. And it is barely even off the ground yet. And that is our list of financial black holes. Billions of dollars spent on dreams and errors. From invisible cars to trains that go nowhere. It is easy to laugh at these massive failures. But remember that this is often taxpayer money. Or investment funds that could have gone elsewhere. It makes you wonder what else is being wasted. Maybe your city has a bridge to nowhere too. Or a stadium that nobody ever actually uses. Financial history is full of these expensive lessons. Hopefully we learned something from burning all this cash. If you enjoyed this list of expensive mistakes, please hit that subscribe button for more content. We cover the biggest financial stories every week. And drop a like if you want more lists. Let us know in the comments below right now. Which one of these projects was the dumbest? Was it the fake Apple car or the metaverse? I think the Seine river swim was the craziest. Thanks for watching and see you next time.